Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are joining us from. And once again, I say a very big welcome to you. Welcome to another session of our financial modeling boot camp, right? Where we are seeing how we incorporate the concept of project finance into building our typical operational model. So just so that I'm sure we are all on the same page, I would like us to just type in the chat box, just say something, hello, hi, or, no, I'm the landlord, and you guys are coming to visit me in my own house. So which means you need to be able to say hello. So let me first greet everyone. So hello, everyone. Yes, so you can type in the chat box so that we are sure we are all together. We're good to have every one of you. And once again, a very big welcome to you. Thank you for the sacrifice. See, nothing ever comes free. And that's the sacrifice you're also making over there. And see, the truth is, these contents, they are very, very useful. And I won't lie to you, I've been in the training space for over, I think, the last 4 years, right? And I can categorically tell you that yes, maybe aside if you take a project finance course from specific training institute, which I know, you can hardly get any training, a course online that will take you through this kind of model the way we are actually we are addressing it. So uh, please trust me, value it. Yes, you are not paying money, but you are paying your time, which is also what's value in money, right? So this is also part of your own investment in developing yourself. So enough of the story. So uh, glad to have every one of us again in our session. In our last session, previous session, we were able to build out our input data, right? And the next thing is for us to go ahead and start our calculation. Now, as a modeler, number one skill that you also need to develop is what we call self-review. So before you go ahead and start building your calculation, take a time to review your inputs. Make sure they are working perfectly. Make sure they are working well before you go straight into building your calculation, because it's all garbage in, garbage out. Okay? And while I was trying to do a self-review, I think it was when we started this our meeting, I went straight into my revenue, under my revenue, and I was just trying to look at our pricing. Okay. So, which is one of the most important skill any analyst must have. I was checking the management growth. So we are saying this will be the base price. Okay. And we expect them in year 3 and year 4 to be able to increase the pricing. Now, when I was just looking through the model and I got to, so that is in what? Year 3. So we expect them to increase that in year 3. So I got to year 3. Seems everything is working perfectly, which you can see, right? Then I got to year 4. Then suddenly the price dropped back to the base price. And we didn't state that there will be any drop in year 4 or anything. Now, as a modeler, as I said, attention to detail is very important. In fact, it's one of the best key you can have. Now, take a look at it. What do you think happened? So for some of us that were just joining, I also share this version of the file with us. So maybe you want to continue with your own, you want to pick it up from the version that was sent to us via email. Now, what do you think happened? So let's make use of the chat box so that we can save ourselves a lot of time. What do you think happened in this year 4? Because we're saying our price dropped from $6.2 back to $5.15. What do you think happened? So take a look at it, because that's part of what will make you a great modeler. Your ability to be able to even detect everything right, which we call self-review. So I'll give you time to take a look at it. What do you think happened, and what do we need to do? We've actually not checked it. So immediately we started the meeting, I was just like, let me look through our assumptions, and let's see what is happening. Let's check. What do we think is happening? The growth multiple, yes, I agree with you exactly, which is the first point. So you can see the growth multiple drop from 1.21 back to 1, right? Exactly. So what do you think now? Okay, which means we've identified what is happening. What do you think we need to do? And this is one of the reasons whenever I'm kind of teaching anyone any concept, I make sure I take you through two different types of concepts that can be used, right? And one of the reasons is also what we are seeing here. So what do you think we need to do? I want to hear from you guys. What do you think we need to do? Do you think there's any formula that can help us with this multiple? Or maybe this approach might not work. Maybe this approach might not work, and we might need to consider the second approach. But let me just hear from you guys. What do you think? So, and that's one thing I love about when it comes to finance, right? There's always they make sure that you have multiple approaches, which some can be applied in specific case study, some can be applied to other specific case study. Okay. Now, if we go back to our pricing incremental factor, I did the second approach there. So the inflation we use, which was approach 1, which is the same thing that we also use for our pricing factor now, and which is what is causing the problem. Okay, now as I said, see, it's easy for you to see that I'm doing it, right? And at the end of the training, I send the recording and the whole thing, and you just watch the recording and it ends there. But you know the best way to learn it? Sit down, which is what I'm trying to achieve, right? Sit down, do it your own. Because most time when you do something yourself, right, if you go back to it, there's kind of the way it's registered in your brain that I did this thing the first time. Even if you try to, okay, oh, I've forgotten this, you go back to the recording, right? It's easy for your brain to reconnect it. And that's why I said, you know what, this approach, I'm building it, you're also building it. Because that's what makes you a modeler. You look at your model, so that something is off, you automatically know where is what's caused it, what is happening. Okay. So now, basically what is happening now is, because we are using the second approach, right, you can see the effects of what that can actually cause. Because where they have to put like interval periodical growth, which means this our method of getting our factor will not work. All right. So because there is no growth after year 3, the multiple automatically drop back to 1 because there is no growth to use for the calculation. Now, for a period where you have a constant growth input, this method can work. But where you have like interval growth, then definitely this method will not work. Right? I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that before we start doing the adjustments. I hope you understand that first. I hope you understand that. So maybe in case you've forgotten, look at the approach we use for our price incremental factor, right? And look at the approach we use for our cost incremental factor. You can see that there are two different approaches. So approach 1, then approach 2. We're saying now that approach 1 can be good where you have growth across all you expect them to have growth in all the annual basis period. But in a case which we have this our pricing, which saying, oh, year 1 there might not be growth, year 2 there might not be growth, then year 3 there's growth, then interval growth. Definitely you need to do what? You need to use the approach, which is the second approach that we use for our what our price inflation rate. So in relation to that, let's go ahead and let's do the adjustments for our pricing. So we are going to use the second method, right? So this is what we're going to do. So firstly, we need to change our our management growth, which is the lookup that we use here. Okay. So you know that it's using the year, but now because of the approach and because of the error that we've seen, that means we cannot use that approach. We can only use the second approach, which which will be based on what? Specific dates, which is the end period, right? Times it could even be like the start period, right? So which means I'm going to delete all my formulas in my management growth, and I'm now going to use equal to. Now this period we might not be able to use lookup, so this is where we're going to use our index. So equal to index. So here we are going to use our index, right? So index, the first thing we need is our array, which is our what? Our output. So I'm going to highlight the inputs for year 1 to year 5. Lock it, keep that constant, comma. Then I'm going to match. Now this period, I'm going to match my start date. Start date. Okay. So you can keep the row constant. So in case we want to reuse the formula. Then comma. You should look for this start date in what? In the list of the dates, the start dates of our yearly period, which I'm also going to keep constant. Then comma should give me exact match and close my bracket 2 times. Okay, press enter. You can drag that across by your 60 months. By your 60 months. So the formula again. So index, your array is what? What you want as a result, as your output. Comma, then match the start date, your monthly period, match it to what? Go and match it to this the start date in our annual timeline and give us the exact match, which is the 0, and close your bracket 2 times. Okay, so press enter, drag it across, and it's going to give us the #NA error. And I hope you know why it's giving us that. You know why it's giving us that? So because when it gets to this period, it's looking for February 1st in the series of our dates, and it cannot find that. Okay, so what you need to do, so because of the NA, just come in front of the formula and put your if NA. If NA, don't use if error, please. If NA, come to the end and just type 0. So if NA, okay, if NA, just close the bracket and press enter. You can just drag that across. At this stage I don't even expect anyone to be saying they don't understand index and match because we've used it. So it's basically saying, you guys, we do it in the session and you decide to drop the model. So by this time, if someone does not know how to use index and match, and I took, or maybe you join a little bit late, I'm sorry, I might not be able to go back. We start 1 on the dot. All right. So if you've done that, copy that across. So please, as I said, if error, most times try as much as possible to read. But I know there's some school of thought that they don't really like using if error. And there are so many reasons behind it, All right, because if error can actually overwrite some specific unexpected error. Yes, so especially if we are beginning like kind of mega model. So if any, I think that's better for us to use here. And then the next thing is now for us to go back. The approach we use in our inflation, this is our pricing incremental. I can even copy everything. So just copy everything in that index inflation, copy the formula from that cell that contain one to the end of the month, then replace it with what we have in our management growth factor. And now let's look at our pricing. Let's look at our pricing and now confirm that they are working perfectly well. Check to be sure that they are working perfectly well. Sorry, I lost for about 30 seconds. Can you take that again? Where did you get lost? Please don't say the index and match. You won't go back to index and match. So put your index and match to get this. So we are just, it's as good as if we are repeating what we did here, the pricing incremental factor, what we did in this section. That's what we are doing. So I said once you've used your index to get this, right? So that you don't repeat this, come to under this pricing incremental, this inflation index. Look at the approach we use here, right? So I said just copy this entire row, copy it, right, and just paste it in our management growth. Yeah, so just paste it. So it's basically saying the base period is equal to 1, and we're just increasing the base period plus 1 plus the management growth. Yeah, increasing that over the period. Yeah. Okay, so please, if you are still struggling with some basic things, right? As I said, this session is more like an intermediate or advanced session. So this advice, don't skip the level. Start from level 1, level 2. Most of what we are doing are just basic modeling toolkits. Okay. So I'm not sure we need this annual counter anymore. So we can remove the entire row. So we don't need that annual counter anymore. We can remove it. Okay, so which means we also need to do the same thing for our cost of sales. So as I said, as a modeler, attention to detail is very, very important. Self-review, right? It's a normal thing for you to just go ahead and do the whole thing fast. Then when you now start testing, you now realize now, if you go to our cost of sale and I come under year 3 and I type 10%, okay, if I go through my pricing, so that's under year 3. If I check under year 3, I'll see that yes, the cost increased. Okay, then in year 4, it falls back again. So which means we are still facing the same thing we faced in our pricing. Okay, so as a modeler, you build your model structure, make sure you test it. But I've used one approach, then by the time you are testing, you realize that, oh, this approach might not work. For example, I'm working on a project now. The the way we thought about the model is especially so it's more like a mega sensitivity scenario thing. So we had a specific approach which the way we want them to use the scenario and sensitivity control worksheet. Now, by the time we send it to the clients and the client started testing it, we realized that there was like the way they wanted to use it, there was like is actually giving rise to one error. By the time they sent it back, you know what we had to do? We use approach 1, and when we realized that yes, this is the way we wanted them to use it, but this is the way the user wanted to use it. So you know what we had to do? We had to change the old scenario sensitivity thing. We had to change it back into another approach, which will match what they actually want. So that's most time that's how the model kind of work. So, and that's why it's called operational model. You must be able to test to be sure that everything is working perfectly well. Okay. So now, which means we need to also do the same adjustment that we did here. Now, I'm going to work smart here. I'll come to this, my product pricing, that index match that we used here. I'll just copy the entire formula. I'll copy it. Okay. Now, I'm going to paste it in my management growth for my cost of sales. So copy. So go to your management growth in your product pricing. Copy the entire formula, Control C. Right. I'm not saying you should copy the cell. Click inside this formula as if you want to edit it. Then highlight the entire formula, copy it, come back to our cost of sales management growth and paste it. Okay. Now, if you click inside the formula, currently it's referring to product pricing. So just use your cursor to move the formula from our product pricing management growth to what? To the cost of sales. To the cost of sales, and press enter, and you can copy that across the 60-month forecast period. So copy that index and match that we use in our management growth. Right? Copy the entire formula, not the cell. Click inside the formula as if you want to edit it, then copy everything from the equal to the last bracket, copy it, come to the management growth and just paste it. So just put your cursor on the cell and press Ctrl V. Then you have the formula there. So it will be linking to what? To the product pricing under management growth. So make sure you just use your cursor to that selection, drag it down to your cost of sales, and press enter. Then you can drag that across. So which means the next thing is copy that management growth factor, copy it, and also paste it to replace the method we are using under our cost of sales as well. So as a modeler, your model does not stop when you feel you've built out the structure. So you need to take your time to test, run through it, right? When it comes to model review, all right, there are some people that are good at it, model review, which means they will review each cell, right, and be sure that the formula is working very well. They will test everything. So in typical project finance, when you are done with the model build, they usually send it to the big four guys to review. Okay, because the financial will not agree that the model is fine until the big four guys kind of write a report and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, the model is fine. They've tested it. They've done all this. So, I said, it's more is realistic. Is what you build this so that people can commit billions into it. So definitely it must go through different review process. Okay. So I think that's the only thing, but it's always good. You also look through to be sure that every other thing is working perfectly well in your model. Self-review is always good. Yes. Yes, please. Always keep that in mind. You review the whole model, be sure that you are in line and everything is working well. Okay. So now let's get started with our calculation. Let's get started with our calculation. Okay. Are we good? Any question? Any question? All right. So let's go to our calculation. And for our calculation, we've segmented it into three. As I said, see, there's no wrong or right when it comes to the structuring of your model. You are the driver, the way you decide to drive it. You are the one drawing the way you decide to draw it. Okay. The management growth factor is 2 times in your cost of sales. I'm not sure you should be having 2 times. So check your growth factor. So for the cost, okay, let me remove this. So cost of sales there's no growth. So check your management growth factor. Right, so I'm not sure that should give us anything like 2 times. Okay, so now let's get started with our operation. So as I said, you can decide to have all your calculation in one single worksheet if you want that, but most times it's always good so that you consider your users, right, to be doing that. Yes, please remove the annual cost of, yeah. We just use that for our test. So as I said, most times it's always good you do that testing to be sure that everything is working perfectly well. So at times you create what we call model templates. And in creating a template, you must make sure that everything is working perfectly well. And even if you build a model, operational model for external clients, most times what usually happens is they don't usually give you the actual data. So they will give you the structure, they will give you everything they want, tell you everything they want the model to be able to do. So which means you need to now use fictitious data to build out the whole model structure, right? And when you are done, you send the model to them. Now they will now start plugging the values the way they want. And now the work of the model is to be able to work perfectly based on how they want it, the adjustment and the update they want. So most times you build a management operational model for external clients. It's not as if they're going to give you the whole data. They just tell you, we want the model to be able to do this, do that, do that, do that. They give you more like a fictitious data assumptions based on their operations, and you use that to build the model out completely. So which means you must make sure everything is well. So please remove the cost of sales. Everything is 0%. I think it's only product that will put 10% in year 3 and 5% in year 10% in year 5. Right. Okay, now let's go to our operation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one of my header 1 and header 2. I'll copy it, come to my operation, and I think our model is starting from row 8. So I'll put that in my row 8. Okay, so 1, I'll call this our revenue. So 1.1. So this will be our revenue calculation. So we're going straight into our calculation. So as a modeler, always remember, you must always know your model. You must always know your model. I'm not an advocate of using templates. I'm an advocate of building your model from scratch. Yes. If you bring a model I built 4, 3, 5 years ago, right? Yeah, it might take me some time to be able to remember what the whole model is all about. But once I remember, I can tell you where everything is feeding from. Tell me, oh, this thing seems not to be working. I already know what is causing it. And that's part of what will make you one of the finest modeler. Okay. So now the first thing, we call this assumption. Okay, let's call this input linked, right? Input linked. And the first thing we need, I'll come to my input. So we are dealing with our revenue now. So the first thing I need is what? We need our product pricing. We need our product pricing, which we I think we created a bracket around it, right? So that there were different calculation done before we got to this part. Okay. So now, but before we do that, let's first link our macro data. So if you remember the pricing we have here, we've not considered what? We've not considered pricing factor. We've not considered macro. We've not considered time value of money. This is just based on management expected incremental factor. Okay. So the first thing we need, let's call this our pricing factor. All right. So if I come to my input and I scroll straight to my macro data, you'll see our inflation index. Our pricing model price index. Maybe we can even rename this so that we are sure. So price. Someone is asking, okay. So you mean macro, like macro economy? So please, so inflation index. So let's bring that. So we need to link that here. Price inflation index. Okay. So I think the unit is percent. So just go ahead and link that for the month one. So equal to, go straight to my inputs and link that to my model price inflation index. Price inflation index, please. Linking is very important. So you can also decide to format it in our link cell style. Put in our link cell styles. You can format it to show in X formats, and you can drag that across for the 60 months. So drag that across. Drag that across. So drag that across. Drag that across. So please remember that's our pricing incremental factor. Yes. So we assume the incremental factor will always come in at the end of the specified month, right? And in our revenue, we specified the incremental factor will always come in at the beginning of the year. So those are things you as a modeler need to pay attention to, right? It's not, as I said, see, artistical part of model is very simple and easy. But so many people lack the mechanical aspect of it, which is part of what we just did now. Said, hey, you know what, pricing, our pricing seems to be falling down at a particular period. What is causing it, right? Because a management is looking at your model, that's what they are looking out for. Okay. And now let's take a step back. If you come in here, if you go to if you look through our model, okay. Now in November, our price inflation index is 1. Then in December, it becomes 1.02. And in January, it becomes 1.02. Now, let me ask you, should we use the start of the year or we should stick to our end of the year factor? So basically what we are saying is, if they want to, for the time value consideration, is saying the effect of inflation, should we assume that the effect will start in December end of the current period, which will flow into the new period, or we should always assume the effects will always start from like a January to December effect? Okay, so all right, let me say the end of the year is characterized with price jump, right? Yeah, so what I'm saying is, should we assume the effect will start from December, or we should start from effects? It will always start, the effect will come in the beginning of the year. So if we also decide to relate that into our assumptions, we are saying the percent we've stated in this period is based on an average of 12-year calendar average rate. Okay, so Stephen is suggesting that from December is more realistic. Okay, right? So also, if you are considering that, we also need to take a look at the type of business, right? Because, you know, if it's a business that is, in December because of the festive period and the old thing seasonality kind of comes in, people tends to buy more. And if you decide to implement your price increments at that period, you know that people will still buy, as compared to you just decide to increasing it at the start of the period, right? Okay, all right, good. So let's stick to that. But as I said, please always remember, see, this simple thing, as we are just saying it, if you are presenting this to the client, you can spend 1 hour on just this discussion alone. And that's why I said, see, modeling is simple, but at times it cannot be simple. Okay? it can be frustrating at times. This simple thing we are just discussing now. You can spend 1 hour with management saying, yes, I know, you know what we've considered it will come in the effect of time value of money will be factored at the beginning of the at December, which we feel might have. Management can tell you that, hey, no, someone else might. So different view, all right, which is also the same thing we are having here now. But the truth is, at the end, yes, you consider different scenario when you are faced with things like that. Okay, so you guys are suggesting we should stick to, yes, let's say the time value of money should be from December to November, then December, because as I said, different thoughts, different people with different opinion, different view, and they also want you to be able to model everything into your model. Okay, so let's keep this the way we have it. Now let's link our product pricing. So our product pricing, yes, our product pricing. So come to my inputs. So equal to, just link that straight to our product type name, product type. So you can even lock it so that we can always copy that across. Then our units, just put our currency one. So currency one, then link that equal to, link that to our inputs, link it to our what? Our product pricing in month one for both of them. So make sure you put them in 2 decimal, the same. So consistency is very important. You put the price in the input at 2 decimal. So make sure you do the same thing. Put it in link cell style and copy that across. Okay. So link your products, link your products pricing. All right. So I think that's the only two things. Okay, we also need our quantity for our revenue calculation. So quantity, to also link your quantity, link it from our what? From our input. So also link your quantity, link your actual model forecast based on capacity and seasonality. That's what you are linking. Also make sure you keep to your sales style to drag that across the forecast period. That should be straightforward. So link your product price, link your product quantity. So remember, you're selecting for the pricing, you are selecting the product price. So my own is from row 60 and 61. So which has also factored in the pricing that has factored in the expected management growth. As I said, time value of money is on its own. Management expected growth is also on its own. They are kind of different. So your quantity, make sure you are selecting the quantity that's the one that will factor in both our capacity and seasonality. Yes. So mine is from 88 and 89. So make sure you are selecting the correct one. So I said, because this is operational model, in typical kind of our normal model, what we'd have done is all this calculation that we did in here, we have done that in the calculation. But I said because of operational model, you just want them to be able to do their input and also see what the value kind of look like. All right. So now let's now do our revenue calculation. Revenue calculation. Revenue calculation. Or let's just call it revenue. Already created something like that. So you can index this line. Okay. So our price for our revenue, we need our price. Okay. We need our price, and I can just copy our two products, our product name, put it here. And the next thing, so we need our price and what? Price, and we need quantity. So quantity. So copy that. The price and quantity. So your calculation, always make sure the structure is well laid out. Okay. So for the price, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a comment here and say, I'm going to call it post inflation or post pricing or post price uh, inflation index. So it's always good you state that. So for the price in our calculation, we need to state that it is what? Price post inflationary index. I can also just shift everything like this. Okay, so for our price, our price post inflation index will just be equal to what? My product price multiplied by my what? Multiplied by my price inflation. I also do the same thing for my second product. Multiply by what? By my inflation index. Make sure you maintain the 2 decimal approach across. Your quantity, just make sure you link it to our linked volume. You can now go ahead and calculate your revenue. Calculate your revenue. Just to get my revenue will then be what? My price, which is the price post in my price inflation index, multiplied by my what? My forecast quantity. I can do my calculation of my total revenue. So we can just underline the entire row. Even make it bold. Can copy that across. Copy that across. Yeah, forgive me, I know I can be fast. As I said, you've been able to work efficiently and be effective is also part of the training. So please calculate your revenue so that I'm sure we are on the same page. Highlight all your total revenue over the 60 years. So below you will see the summation. So copy, just click on it, then come to your chat box and paste your own, just paste your total revenue over the 60 months. Just paste that in the chat box so that I'm sure we are all together. Once you calculate your revenue, highlight the entire revenue. So maybe, in fact, I think we should just do that under our total. You just do your sum, then highlight everything from month 1 down to month 60, enter, and drop that in the chat box. Your total revenue. Don't worry, in case you don't get the same thing I have, just make sure you type something in the chat box so that I'm sure we're on the same page. But I ought not to put my own value. Don't let me put my value yet. The total revenue calculation, put that in the chat box. So please make sure you put it in million. Yes, thank you. Therefore, total revenue, so that I'm sure we're on the same page. Okay, thank you. Okay, can approximate it, which is also the same thing. Okay, so as I said, it's garbage in, garbage out. So which means if you do a mistake, you also get your results of that mistake. Banjo, I'm not sure if that's your own value. Should be getting something around 5 million. So please check again, check. Simple thing, link your pricing, link your price inflation index, link your product price, which has the management computation, right? Management growth computation. Link your units, right? Which has the actual model forecast volume based on capacity after seasonality. How did we get the price inflation rates? I do not expect anyone to be asking that where we are in the stage where we are now. So you go to under your macro data, I'm sure you should, as I said, know your model. All right. Okay. So if I do my own total, so equal to sum from month 1 to month 60, I'm getting 516,913. So set maybe you need to check, so you can check your inputs to make sure your inputs match with what I have in my own. If not, you might be getting different answer. Because what I'm having in my own seems to be different from you guys. So I got 516,913. Okay, now I'm not sure why you guys are getting something different. So make sure your price inflation. Let me also check I could be making mistake. So, and that's one thing about building a model. Don't be too oversure. Don't be too sure. My price inflation index. Checking that. How come you guys are getting something different? But let me check. Let me be sure I hope I'm not the one making any funny mistake, right? When it comes to modeling, don't be too confident. That's the rule. So make sure you check all your links, check all your links. So part of how you check that. So if I come to my product, I can do equal to sum. So that's part of checks, very, very important when you are building a model. My own total volume is 6591. So check if the same thing for product 1 and product 2. So please be sure. The name on the input is different. Okay, I don't know about that, but I'm sure even irrespective of the name you put, as long as it's under this header, price incremental factor, I think that should fly. Yeah, as long as it's under this segment, I think that should be fine. So okay, your own price inflation index has no value. So check there's price inflation index has no value. I'm not sure I got that. We had 2% across. So this is my product price. So no, what I can do is for under the pricing, I will just type average above it so that they know that it's average. So equal to, so if I average my product price, I'm getting 5.57 for product one and 2.53. So check, 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 check. This part of how you check. Can you see the inflation in the last year? And yes, I saw it. In fact, that's one of the reasons I created that discussion as to should we say the price effect comes in January or December. And we agreed that we should just leave it in December. We also look at my price inflation index. I use average, so which means I can move this average, can move it up, and also use the average. So my average of my price inflation is what? Is 1.4. 1.4. So 1.4. So check. So these are different checks you use. By the time I use the average on the post inflation, this is what I'm getting. And my total volume still remain the same thing. And do all those things under your total. So my total revenue for product one, product two. So use this to check your home. Use this to check your home. So use this to check your home. Check. And I could be making the mistake. So no one is beyond the mistake. That's why it's called model. So check. Please check. Check. I could be making the mistake also. Let me check. When the best modelers still make mistakes. So all right. So check and be sure everything is linking correctly. But please, in case you have the same thing that I have with me, please type in the chat box so that I'm sure I'm not the one that is wrong. I'm sure I'm not the only one getting the value I have. Right. So my price. We are aligned. Okay. Okay. So I think I have people are joining my party. So could I go back to the self of price inflation? So price, this is what we have under our price. I said it's garbage in, garbage out. So 2% across for the period. And you have this across. So check yours. If I'm the one making the mistake, please let me know. Oh, please, can you show the sales link from price post inflation? And you just multiplying your linked price from your inputs, multiply that by your price inflation index. So please can your cursor on C15. That's no, no. You guys should not be having any problem with linked, linked. I said link your price to what? Link it to the product pricing, which has the management expected growth. So interesting, interesting. So check, 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 check. Welcome to modeling what? Where you can have, so which means someone can have the same assumption. The what this is what you use for, as I said, as long as it is under price incremental factor. Any name you've given, either you've called it inflation index or anything, as long as it's under price incremental factor, it is what you should use. That's what you should use. Flow, please. Under price incremental factor, you only have one index. It's not as if you have two index, so you can only link it to only one index under your price incremental rate. Can you see the figures in last year? That's why we discussed the pricing inflation thing. That we are saying by the end of year 5, right? Because we are saying the adjustment, the incremental factor, the time value of money effect should always come in at December and not January. So which means definitely you see the difference value in December. What is the formula for the quantity? No, no, I'm not sure we are going back to that, please. Please, I'm not sure we are going back to that. So I said model is garbage in, garbage out. We spent more than 2 hours on volume. So you don't expect us to go back to that, please. Please, is the quantity under post-inflation referencing from the same sheet? What you have in your operation is linking from your input. So I don't expect any difference from there. And my quantity is definitely linking from my input. So the same thing you have in your input should be the same thing you have in your calculation. There should be no difference, right? As a modeler, linking should not be a problem for you. Yes. But the truth is, yes, as I said, one is above a mistake, can build a model and you are linking to the wrong cell. Yes. So don't feel different. I, I still face the same problem, right? Even the best of the best modeler, when they are done with the model, it needs to go through review because you can link it to the wrong cell. So just check, make sure you're linking it to the right cell. And as I said, if I'm making the mistake, if it's coming from my own end, just let me know. All right. So once you are good, then let's go back to our monthly FS, our monthly financial statements, and make sure you link your revenue. So type equal to, link your revenue from your operation, link the total revenue, just link it across for the 60 months. Link that under your total period. You can do the summation of your total. Did you make any changes to management assumptions? Okay. So to the management assumptions, under the pricing, the same 10% in year 3 and in year 5 is the same thing we are still keeping constant. We do not change anything. So make sure you link that to your financial statements. Okay, and if you check your model balance, your model should be balanced. So post the revenue, post that revenue, I put it in brackets, post the revenue, as I said. So that's one of the best approach you can use in order to make sure that your model is always balanced. So at every point where you do a computation for any line item, you know what you need to do? Make sure you go ahead and post it immediately. Make sure you post it immediately. So link that to your total revenue, link that to your monthly financials. You can see that. Link that to your monthly financials. And now the next thing we need to do is we need to put a formula that will bring that value into our annual financial statement. So link that to your monthly financial statement. Link it. You come below, you see your model check. Your model check should be showing okay. Right? So also look through, right? So as an accountant, as I said, we are still doing that same double entry, but just that we are not creating the journal. So as a modeler, you still struggle with understanding the link within the three financial statements. You might need to go back and sit down with your basic accounting. So maybe you put that revenue, right? What do you think the next thing will happen? So that will flow from our revenue straight down to our net profit. Okay, and come straight into our cash flow. So we are using our profit before tax approach. So that comes straight into our profit before tax and flow straight into our ending cash balance. And for our balance sheet to balance, that revenue comes in form of cash, and the profits flow in form of retained earnings to balance the financial statements. So as you do your calculation, make sure you post it directly. So what that will do is to help you in case. So if you build a model and at the end of the model you then realize that the model is not balanced, you then have to come back and start struggling. So if you build for one line item, you link it. If it is not balanced, it's easy for you to know that that single line item is what is causing the imbalance in your balance sheet. So it's easy for you to quickly figure it out before you move ahead, as compared to you do all the calculation at once, now start clicking one after the other, realize your model is not balanced, then you need to start looking for where it's coming from. Okay, so don't worry, in case you are not getting the same value with our own, don't worry. As I said, at the end of this session I will share the version with you and you can look through, but make sure your value is your value. And that's to tell you that, see, modeling is garbage in, garbage out. And that's why when it comes to project finance, you don't build a model and agree that your model is perfect. Now, we are making one mistake. Can anyone tell us? Right? Remember the theme of our bootcamp? Infusing project finance in building the operational model. Now, we are making one big mistake. Can anyone tell us? This is how we understand. If you guys usually take time after the training to sit down with the model and understand the flow. We are making one big mistake. In fact, so when they are reviewing your model, so there's always, so they have different type of risk that your model is exposed to. So more like the different types of error. So there's some basic error, there's some error that has significant impact. Right? So I think they have different types of error that your model can be exposed to. And I think the one error we are making one big mistake and can even affect everything. But thank you, Festus. So it's showing we are making revenue in the setup period. Thank you. So if you go back to your input, under our assumptions in the setup and construction period, what we are saying is it will take this business what 6 months. So we added more like a delay period of 1 month. So basically, I'm saying it will take this business 7 months to be able to set up. So which means if it's taking you 7 months to bring, so we are saying every other thing being equal, right? So we're just basically, they've paid for the equipment, but for them to bring the equipment down to Nigeria, to the country, then do the setup and the thing will take 7 months. So which means by the time you are doing the setup, there's no way you can be generating revenue. Hope you understand. So which means that 7 months, the revenue ought to be what? To be blank. So which means we need to consider our what? Our operational flag. So what I'm going to do, I will create additional row here, go back to my operation and call this our operation flag. Operation flag, some people call it mask. So I'm going to link that. And where are we getting that from? I'm going to link that to my what? We created out the timing under operation. So operation period. Nobody should ask me where is operation period. So please go ahead and link that. So link it. Now in calculate. So link that. So link that. So link that. Okay. Then under our computed revenue, you now multiply that by the what? By the operation flag. Multiply that by the operation flag. You can now copy the formula across. And now what that? So you can see why it is a very significant mistake, significant error that you can make. So you can see the first 7 months, there's what? There is no revenue. There is no revenue within that period. So you can apply the operation flag on either your pricing or you apply it on your quantity, or better still, apply it on your revenue. I think, should we apply it on our pricing and quantity as against applying it on the revenue calculation? What do you guys think? So just for simplicity's sake as well, we also need to consider that and the understanding of the user and anyone that want to review the model. So you can either apply it quantities, right? We should apply it on, I think I agree with you. Yes, you know what? Let's apply it on the quantity. So what I'm going to do is, so on our quantities, you are correct, yes. So let's apply it on the quantity. So quantity multiplied by what? Operation flag. Yeah, quantity is better. So, because that's more like there's no production during that period. So there's no way we can do anything. Exactly. I agree with you. So if you cannot see my screen, can't see what you are doing, like it's not moving, it's just static. I guess it should be your network. Yeah, sorry. So please apply the operation flag on the quantity. Yes, leave the price the way it is. Apply it on the quantity, the operation flag on the quantity. Because there's really we are not producing anything. And have your revenue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at me. Yeah, you're right. Because quantity is the main driver. If you go back to your monthly financial statement, you'll see that there is no revenue in the first 7 months. So that you are sure everything is working well, Go back to your inputs, change your setup to 12 months, right? Go back to your monthly financial statement and see that everything is working perfectly. So let's go to test your model and make sure you remember to put it back to 6 months. So put any period, check, go back to your setup dates, the month, okay? Change it and make sure. As I said, I do not expect anyone to be asking me where we are getting the operation flag, where we are at our stage of model build, please. So monthly financials, link that straight to link it. Okay. Then let's create our annual financial statement. Annual financial statements, so that we also link the same thing. I created it. Why do you need to create a formula for your operation flag when we already created the flag in our control worksheet? So let's create our annual financial statement. Okay. And this time we are going to use a formula called sum ifs. We're going to use a formula called sum ifs. Let's use a formula called sum ifs. So we need to consolidate the monthly financial, right, into what? Into our annual financial statement. And to do that, we're going to use our sum ifs. Sum ifs. Yes. Is this sum ifs or sum if? But somehow I usually prefer sum ifs. Yes. So let's use sum ifs. You can also use sum if. I think sum ifs is always better, kind of straightforward with the approach of index. So sum ifs, okay. I'll come to my monthly financial statement and I'm going to highlight everything. So the first thing is asking for is my sum range. Highlight everything from month 1 to month 60. Okay, now I'm going to log the column. I'm going to log the column. So I'm going to log the column. So sum ifs, then highlight from your month 1, right, down to month 60. Then make sure you put a what? Log the column. I'm sure nobody should be asking what is log the column by now. Okay, then comma, then we have the criteria 1. Our criteria 1 is our what? Our criteria 1 range. You can see criteria range 1. And then you're going to highlight your start date, your entire start date. Keep that constant. Keep that constant. Your criteria range 1. Highlight your criteria range 1, which is your start date in your monthly FS financial statements. Okay. Then comma, what is the criteria? Now our criteria will be, I'm going to open a double quote. So it's either it is greater than or equal to, come to my annual financial statements and click on the start date, which I'm going to log the row. So one problem I'm actually having with most people that teach Excel, right? Especially Excel for financial modeling analysts is they don't usually teach the basic formula that's needed. Now, sum ifs is a basic, should be a basic formula to anyone learning modeling. Trust me. Okay. So sorry, don't want to be emotive. Don't want to talk too much. Okay. So the criteria is what? Select your start date, which is 01st January 2025. Close the double quote. I hope you can see my formula. Let me zoom out very well. So sum, go to your monthly financial statements. Highlight everything in your revenue from month 1 to month 60. make sure you lock the column. And the reason why you are locking the column is by the time we copy it to the right, we are maintaining that same range. But by the time we copy it down, the row automatically move. Then highlight your monthly financial statement, which is the start date from month 1 to month 60. Keep that one constant. Lock both the row and the column, comma, then open your double quotes, saying the period must be greater than or equal to. Come to your annual financial statement, click on the start date, 1st January 2025. Then make sure you keep the what? The row constant, so that by the time we copy it down, it's still referring to that same period. Okay? Then comma. Our criteria range 2 will now be what? Go to your operation. Go to your monthly financial statement. And now this time you are highlighting. This time you are highlighting your what? Your end date. Your end date from month 1 down to month 60. What you are doing, you're also keeping that constant. Then comma. What is the criteria 2? Open your double quotes. Now this time it should be lesser than or equal to my what? Equal to my what? If I come to my monthly financial statement and I select the end date, which I'm also going to keep the row constant. Okay. Then close your brackets. Now press enter. Is that supposed to work? So remember to close your double quotes. Close your double quotes for the end period. Right, then drag that across for the period. What's your observation? Drag that across. What is your observation? Press enter. Drag that. What was your observation? What is your observation? So some ifs, the first criteria is the range you want to sum. So search summing our revenue. Just log the column. So my own is $U10, then $CB10, comma, then highlight my monthly start date. Keep it constant. $U, $3, and $CB, $3, comma. Then open your double quotes. Are you greater than or equal to F financial statement, which is my $3, locking the row. Close my double quotes, comma, then monthly FS, which is the end date from month 1 to month 60, keeping it constant. $U, $4, $CB, $4, comma, then open my quotes, less than or equal to my financial statements, end dates, which I'm going to lock the row. If I press enter, what's your observation? What's your observation? Enter. If you drag it over the 5 years forecasts, what's your observation? Okay, thank you. So it's blank. Let me hear from others. Are you getting any value? So please, if you are still struggling with formula like index and match, some ifs, please, you need to revisit your basic Excel skill. So yes, blank, right? Now, why do you think we are getting blank? Why do you think we are getting blank? Why do you think we are getting blank? Anyone? Or I'll experts in the house. Why do you think we are getting blank? Why do you think we are getting blank? Okay. All right. So now let's take a look at the formula. So some ifs. Okay. You've highlighted the range. You open your double quotes. which is say is greater than or equal to. Now, at the end of this equal to, close your quotes. Because what we are doing is we are converting that text into strings. And now you now need to add and function. Then the last quote at the end of it, you delete it. So this is what's supposed to look like. So the initial one, you have a double quote, right? Greater than or equal to. Now, at the end of the equal to, that's where you need to end your double quotes. See, these are kind of mistake you can make when you are using some if function. Trust me. Especially when you are faced with this situation. So close your double quotes now, and you need to add your and. That should be shift 8 on my own keyboard. Right? And close the double quotes at the end of your FS start date. So go to the second one, do the same thing. At the end of the equal to, that is where you add the double quotes and put your and function, which join it, shift 8, then delete the double quote at the end of it. It's only those ones that we type greater than or equal to should be in quotes, and add the and function to put that with the date. Then if you press your enter, then drag that across, this is what you should get. This is what you should get. Now, my next question is, should we put this in 1,000 units or in, I think we created 1,000,000 units, right? Yeah, should we put that in 1,000 division, which I feel that will be correct. So your formula, make sure you now divide your formula. Divide the formula by what? By the 1,000, which we've created the name range for. Drag that across. Then here, your units, just put your currency 2. Currency 2, yeah. And you can do your total, go to sum. So that it shows it appear like this. Right, it appear like this. So that it appears like this. Right? No. Yes, where I know there are some school of thought that will tell you that you should do the division from the calculation so that the model units change accordingly, right? But most times, yeah, I know there might be a case where they want to see what the actual value kind of look like. They can go to the operation and the output to the CD unit division. Okay, someone asks a question. Must we write a complex formula? What if I use normal sum ifs and achieve the same value? Is that fine? So if you use sum if, yes, sum if is fine, but you know the problem with sum if. So if you are using sum if, that means you should add it based on the year period. But if the period now decides to change and it's no longer January to December a full year, and maybe like March to April, things like that, then the formula might not be able to work properly. So most times it's always good to use sum if. So now is sum if a complex formula? No, I don't think so, because it's still a single formula. So this is definitely allowed because you are consolidating a monthly into annual. Right. So this just helps you to keep the dynamics of the model. So even if you get to a period, so for example, if you go to your input, you change your setup period to, let's say, 14 months, right? You go to your monthly financial statement, you see what that kind of look like. And by the time you go to your annual, it basically tell you that, hey, you know what, the first 14 months, there's really nothing. But if you are using if you are using some ordinary sum if, right? Sum if can only sum based on a single period. So which means can only sum based on the year and cannot sum based on a period range. Yeah, so yes, you must include that greater than or lesser than. Yes, so that's what is giving that dynamism. So that what we are saying is it comes into our monthly financial statement. It looks for the period that starts from the first model start date, which is January, right? And look at this So the dates that start from January and also end in 31st December, and it sums everything under that. It's going to sum it together. So which means if you decide that, our model is not starting in January, our business will not start operation in January, to start in March. So I said most times it's always good you test your model, you go back to your model start date under our control, you change the start date, model start date, and that automatically helps to keep that dynamism in the period date. Let me change back my setup period to, let me change that sorry, I mistakenly moved that. So let me change my start date back to 6 months, and that will help us keep that flexibility. Okay, so check. The model should still balance. So now it's always good you create that check so that on each of your worksheets, your model you are sure that at every point your model is balanced. So if I come to my check worksheet, so I'll call this my monthly financial statement, and this is my annual financial statements, maybe balance sheet check. So it's always good you create this check. It's always good you create all this check at every point, right? So that you don't need to stress yourself going to the balance sheet to check if it is balanced or not. So my monthly financials, I come to my balance sheet check. Right, but I think let's leave that. We can come back to it. So let's deviate from what we are doing. Okay, so you also have, so if you look at it, your total revenue. Oh, okay. You know what we should do? I think we should not divide it in thousand from our annual financial statement. We should divide it from the monthly financial. So sorry. So I'll come back to my monthly financial statements and I will divide it from there. So the sales divided by 1,000. Yeah, I think it's good to divide it from here. Yes. I can put here in currency too. I think it's good we divide it from the monthly financial statements, and that will automatically flow into the annual consolidated financial statements. So delete the 1,000 at the end of our sum use function. Come to your monthly financial statements and just divide that linked value, divided by 1,000. As I said, some people prefer to make sure the model is being divided straight from the calculations that feed straight into the output, which I think is good. I think should we just use that? That we divide everything from the calculations and we don't need to be dividing it from output. So basically output is meant to always link and no formula should be included. Yeah, I think so. So sorry guys. So you just you thinking through. So I think let's keep that. So what we do is I'll come to my operation and I will divide it from here. So let's divide it from revenue. So I'll change my unit to currency 2. Currency 2 here. So I think this is better. And I can divide my price multiplied by quantity. So for easier understanding, put both of them in brackets and divide it by 1,000. So that's coming from here. Yeah, so I think this is better. So yes, so let's divide it from the calculations because everything is linking. Yeah, so most times always you are just thinking about how the user will understand the whole thing. So they change the value, it's just change across the model. Right? So yeah, everyone is learning. And most times, as I said, it's all about the user, how the user will perceive the model and the structure. Yep. So it's always good you just divide it from here. There are some cases where I will leave the calculation the way it is, right? Because at times they just want to see what the actual values look like. So they can just see that from the calculation. So I think I kind of like that approach, right? Where I keep the calculation in its absolute value, So modeling is just dynamic, and most times your user also kind of drive how you do some things at times. Yep. So I just make sure the calculation they can see the absolute revenue not being divided by anything. Then the output, yeah, they can now see the output being divided by this. But let's use that approach where we keep everything constant. All right. So we are through with our revenue. Any question? Any question? I think we are good. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do our cost of sale. So copy my second header. So I can copy my header 1, 2. So just leave a row and I'll call this my 2 points cost of sales. Right. So 2.1, which is my cost of sales. So for our cost of sales, we also need to bring in our linked cell. So inputs, I'll call this inputs linked. We're just repeating the same thing we did for our revenue. So my price index, I can copy that. Copy the first 2 cells, paste it here. So I'll call this my cost. I'll call this my costs inflation index. And I'll link that to my what? I'll link that to my cost inflation index. Just link that straight to my cost inflation index. So link that to our cost inflation index. Please check, make sure you are linking it to the correct line item. Okay, and then let's link that. Let's link our cost of sales as well. So I just copy the cell from my pricing, right? And I'll link that straight to my cost of sales. Link that to my cost of sales across. So which means now I can calculate my cost of sales. Okay, you guys should be able to do this on your own. So please do your own and I do my own. Cost of sales. You guys should be able to do this on your own. So please, sorry, I'm doing my own. You should do your own. So my costs, my cost per unit, then post cost inflation index. Then I have my quantity. My quantity. So my quantity. So the quantity, I can just leave that quantity to the same quantity we have in our under our revenue segment. Right. So it should be getting the same thing. Now I can do my cost of sale calculation. So copy. So let's copy the format from the revenue. And we should have our cost of sales. So this is what I'm getting. So total cost of sales. Cost of sales. So this is what I'm getting in my home. If you maintain the same structure, should not even take you much time. Just copy it from the revenues segmentation and paste it under our cost of sales. So calculate your cost of sales. So once you have it, once we have that, we can link that to our monthly financial statement. But let me give us time so that I'm sure you've computed your cost of sales. Calculate your total cost of sales. I said once you are done, link that straight to your financial statement. Okay, so I'll come to my financial statement. And now, because this is very important. Okay, so let me help you. You are through with your cost of sales. This should not take you time. So before you link your cost of sales to the monthly financial statement, let's have this discussion, please. So now, if I come to my menu, okay, which is what I'm going to do. Now, the financial modeling standard is saying anything you are deducting in your model, you should try and put it in positive value. Like that is, all the value in your output should always be in positive. But over the year, we've seen that most corporate organization tends to go with the negative convention. So which means if your company, if they decide to show a value they are deducting in positive, please stick to that. If your company prefers to show it in negative, in the positive, then in the formula you put your minus. That's good. So what I'm going to do is under my menu, I'm going to put I'll put in my value convention. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'll put this is positive value. So I'll state this is positive values, right? And I'll state this is negative value. Okay, so for my positive value will remain the same. I can just put example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for my negative will be minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And be in that bracket. Okay, so please, it's always good you state this. Yes, I know financial modeling standard is saying anything you are deducting should even be in positive value. But over the period, it's obvious that most times a company convention, right, a company style or kind of prevail when it comes to model B. So there's some companies, if you are deducting a value, they prefer to put it in the same positive approach. Then the formula they now put minus. Okay, but most times, most companies always prefer to have it like this, especially when it comes to modeling. So please, it's always good. So if you are building your own and you feel no, everything should be in positive, you need to state it here. Can even put additional description. Okay. So now if I come to my monthly financial statement, I can come here and put equal to minus, and I can link that to my calculated cost of sales, drag that across. So which means I will need to update my what? My gross profit formula. I will need to update my what? My gross profit formula. Or should we use the positive approach? Which one do you guys think? What do you guys think? Should we use this approach where what we are deducting is in bracket like this and is in red, or we should use the other one, the other approach where it will be in positive. So it will be in positive, right? So it will be in positive like this. And then in our formula, we just put our, so we put this minus this and also put this additional comments. Which one do you guys prefer? So someone said we should state with this positive approach. Let me hear from other guys. Which one do you prefer? For example, my own company, we always kind of prefer to put it in brackets. Said it's kind of easier to read. It's easier to read for the user so that they know that something is minus this. Well, our financial money standard is saying we should stick to the positive approach. Let me hear you guys' thoughts, please. So I will know the one we are using for our own model. Positive, okay. Please, guys, let me hear your thoughts. We have more than 40 participants. What do you guys think? Should we stick to the positive or negative? But the truth is, majority of the companies usually prefer to have it in negative. Yes. So please, let's change it to negative. So just put minus in front of it so that it's easy to show that, yes, you are deducting it. But now remember to put your gross profit, update your gross profit formula to, so currently is revenue minus cost of sales. But now that we are putting our cost of sales in negative, just sum it together. So remember to update that, please. So sum it together, sum it together. So if we go to your annual financial statements, so you just drag the same formula for our sales, drag it down, and update your gross profit formula to sum. Update it to sum. Yeah, so let's use the negative approach. So since we've stated it in our menu as our convention, all right, so monthly financial statements, we said put minus, then link it to your cost of sales. Come to your annual financial statement, just the same formula you've put here. If you've done your cell referencing properly, just copy it down, copy the formula down, then update your gross profit formula to sum instead of the initial minus that we have, and check your balance sheet to be sure that it is still balanced. So at every point, you build your model, you do your calculation, and you are sure this is fine. Okay. All right. So now, which means we are done with our operations. Okay. And the next thing we now need to do is our operating expenses. Now, operating expenses, you need to do your salaries, your SG and A. Now, we are getting to the advanced level now. This will be our assignment for the next session. Now, please note that only people that submit the task. So by the time you do your own, send it to me. I also do my own. I will share it with you so that we are sure that yes, we have the same thing. Now, it's only people that submit that will get the invite to the next session. Please. Okay? Is a sacrifice we are actually paying, right? Some of us could have decided to be doing some other things. So for you being here is definitely a sacrifice, and that's why I was kind of looks as if I was strict on sharing the session recording. Now your task is, you see the same way we've done this proper structuring, right? See the way we put the structure for revenue look good. The cost of sales also looks good. Now your own is you should go ahead and do your operating expenses. And what will make up your operating expenses? You go to your input, you see your salaries and wages, you see your selling, general, and admin expenses. So this is also to gauge our understanding of what we've done so far, so that I'm sure we are not pouring water on, uh, we are not pouring water on just empty ground. Okay. Go ahead, do the computation of your operating expenses, which include your salary and expenses. Apply where you need to apply your macro data, your selling and general expenses. And I'm sure out of this, your selling, okay, yes, just only this your operation, not expenses. Do the computation, right? So which means after this, I will just, the third thing that we need to do is what? I'll come under here, paste this, which should now be my what? 3, and that will be my operating expenses, right? So 3.1. So maybe selling general and admin expenses. So go ahead, do the calculation, which will include your what? Your salaries, and salary is quite simple. Okay, you do your staff number multiply by the salary per staff, then you factor in the time value of money on it, on the cost. SG&A, you already have that on your monthly basis. Just multiply that by your time value of money, do the summation of it, and link it to your monthly financial statements and also your financial statement. Remember to also update your EBITDA formula, because we are using the negative approach now, right? So which means instead of deducting, just add it, because you're going to put your operating expenses in negative value. And only the people that get to submit before the next session, so I think I'll give us grace till Friday, right? Those are the people that will send the link to the next session. As I said, the plan was for us to even have just 20 people, but luckily we had more than 100. So don't let us pour uh, don't let us pour water on empty land, right? I'm sure if you want to do any training, number one is I'm not sure you can get a training that will be as detailed as this, or we teach you this kind of modeling build, right? So please, to sure that uh, we only stick to people that know the worth of what we are giving out for free. Uh, so which means only people that get to submit, then we move to the next level and we can pick things up from there. All right. So set once again, your own task is do this section, which is the operating expenses. Okay, using the assumption that you have in your input. So basically, your salary and wages, your selling general and me expenses, and make sure you remember to send your file to me. All right, so that we know that these are the set of people we'll be considering going forward, so that by the time we get to the complex people, we know that yes, these people are dedicated and they are ready. Okay. So let's call it a session here today. After this training, I think I will share this my own file with you, so maybe you miss one or two things. Yeah, only the OPEX, please. Yes, only the OPEX, so that by the time we are going straight into the next one, okay, we just go ahead with our networking capital. Then we move straight to our what? We move straight to our funding and capex, so that we know that yes, we are dealing with people that really value this and making the sacrifice. Okay, so thank you everyone, and thank you for being part of the session today. We'll see you We receive your assignments and then we see you in the next session. All right, yes. Your Collins here, what's the question, please? All right, so thank you, everyone. All right, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Are we working on the assumption that we produce and sell the same value per month? Okay, I'm not sure I understand that question. And if I'm sure it's what I'm thinking, I'm sure we've covered that during our assumption section. So maybe you might want to revisit the previous session and get the response to that. Are we assuming that we are producing and selling the same volume per month? I think we spend almost 10 minutes or so addressing that. Yeah, that was also raised while we are putting our assumptions together. All right, so thank you, everyone, and let's make sure we enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.